Book that accuses the former secretary of trading favors for cash for her family's foundation. And shocker, she won't answer them again.
Yesterday, the distraction that the Clinton cash was a distraction. Can you comment on the specific allegations, though?
But her cronies are out in full force trying their hardest to do damage control.
He's cherry-picked information that's been disclosed and woven a bunch of conspiracy theories about it.
I think this is a political put-up job, and I can smell it a mile away.
They've taken publicly available information and kind of rehashed it into this sort of partisan sort of fantasy, and it's not necessarily new information.
Well, these aren't conspiracy theories or political put-up jobs or a partisan fantasy, as Podesta, Brock, and Finney just claimed. These are very serious allegations. The judge, our judge, makes a very interesting observation.
The allegations are serious enough that the Justice Department is required under the law to commence an investigation. Why do I say that? Because last month, the Justice Department indicted sitting New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez for bribery. The allegations against Senator Menendez are far less than the allegations against Secretary Clinton.
KG, weigh in on this.
Yeah, I think he's right on the mark there. This is very interesting. What are they going to do with this? Because now they've gone on this full of, persecution against Menendez. But what shall be the fate of the former Secretary of State? I mean, is this again going to be something people are going to sweep under the rug, where no matter what, she's got like Teflon, legal proof you can't touch her, no matter what kind of crimes might have been committed?
Jules?
Well, it's interesting that you say that about Menendez, or the judge did, because that opened up a Pandora's box that I think is very dangerous for every sitting politician, from dog catcher in Akron, Ohio, all the way up to Hillary Clinton or frankly, Barack Obama. There's never been a politician in the history of campaign finance that has not taken a campaign contribution and then, lo and behold, from interests that have an interest in the way they legislate. And so the judge is right. What they did with Bob Menendez was unprecedented in the sense that they criminalized behavior that happens all the time. And if that's the standard by which they're going to judge things now, then everybody needs to be looking at it.
Allow me to throw this example out there. And this just came out, I believe, since the book came out. 2006, Senator Clinton and Senator Obama co-sponsored legislation holding violators of human rights in the Congo accountable. This group, called the Lundin Group, L-U-D-I-N Group, a mining group, was investigated and tied to Congo violations. 2007, Hillary Clinton announces that she's going to run for president. Later on that same year, a couple of months later, that London Group drops $100 million into the Clinton Foundation. That London Group was never investigated. When Hillary Clinton became Secretary of State from 2009 to 2013, was never, ever held accountable for it. Was literally, Dana, the same legislation that she proposed with Obama, got passed, and then decided to look the other way.
I know that her team is going to just try to brush this off. They're going to try to use the vast right-wing conspiracy piece. But I think that when the New York Times wrote it, they were looking at it in a way that says, this does merit some investigation. And I think the Menendez comparison is good, except for that, remember, this also ties into the Clinton Foundation and Bill Clinton. One of the things that feminists suggest, and I agree with this, is, and Kimberly, I think that in your book you're going to talk about this, which is, as a woman, when you are negotiating for a salary, you need to know your worth, okay, know what your value. So Hillary Clinton, knock yourself out. You can get $500,000 a speech, great. Is she really that talented a speaker to merit that kind of price? Probably not. You've seen her speak. Is she really that accomplished that you would pay $500,000 to see her speech? Arguably not. But is she in a position for potential influence? And is her husband in a position for potential influence? Because that's the other thing. They might not find, the Justice Department may not find some sort of link for years, because that's how long investigations there take.
Right.
But Bill Clinton is then getting $500,000 a speech through, after they connect with the Clinton Foundation and they have business in front of the Secretary of State. And that's why I think that there's probably a little more here, and they are not going to be able to just sweep it under the rug. The hard thing is for them, and for us, frankly, is that the book is not out yet. None of us have had a chance to fully read it, but that, I guess, will come in a few weeks.
The good news is, Greg, the really good news is all we have to do is grab her emails and find out if there's any ties.
Oh,
yeah, but let's face it, truth is a distraction.
Yep.
We can't let the truth get in the way of what she's pretending to be. The real caper that she's getting away with is, this is a campaign running on nothing. She is the Seinfeld of presidential candidates. Yeah. She wants equal pay for women. That's a law. I mean, the only one breaking it, actually, is her. She's the only one not paying equal pay. But here's the great part. I want her to win the presidency because if she does, that means she's going to appoint Huma Abedin, in all likelihood, as a chief of staff. So get this. You're going to have Bill Clinton and Uma's husband, Anthony Weiner, at times in the White House at the same time. How long before the Rose Garden has a hot tub?
All right.
Well, that's the only bright spot I've heard.
It's a
because the
great
rest of
bright,
that
well, it's
sounded
not just a bright spot.
How do you feel
It's
it doesn't happen already?
Are you planning on hanging out there? Is that why?
yeah, it's like the grotto at the Playboy Mansion.
There's got to be a hot tub somewhere in that whole complex.
Well, there's going to be one, believe
gotta
me.
be
well, a jacuzzi tub
And you
for
better
sure.
get it disinfected.
KG, what's it called?
Nasty.
Controlled water, right?
Controlled
Must-
water,
must.
but I don't want to be in any kind of controlled water with them two.
Okay,
That's all
gotcha.
I got to say.
All right, listen to this. Candidate Clinton is desperately trying to reinvent herself as the populist, worried about the little guy, concerned with income inequality. Her solution, topple the wealthy, the earners, the employers. The NYT, New York Times, noting today, quote, in a meeting with the economists this year, Mrs. Clinton intensely studied a chart that showed income inequality in the United States. Mrs. Clinton pointed at the top category and said the economy required, quote, a toppling of the wealthiest 1%. Really, Mrs. Clinton, after 12 years of aggressively building a fortune, $200 million, demanding $300 grand a speech, private jet transportation, and the royal suite accommodations, you're the 1%er. You're a 1/10 of 1/10 of 1%er, in fact. So, you and I disagree that Hillary Clinton's trying to reinvent herself. Topple the wealthiest.
Unfortunate way to phrase it, actually a really unfortunate way to phrase it. But, the problem that people had with Mitt Romney for talking about the last really wealthy person who ran wasn't so much that he was wealthy, because FDR was wealthy. We've had a lot of wealthy presidents. It was that the policies that people felt he pursued were geared towards the wealthy. I don't care how much money she makes if she actually has policies that would somehow minimize this horrible income inequality that we have. And it remains to be seen what her policies are going to be.
Can you spend 12 years amassing a $200 million fortune and then say, I'm for the middle guy, I'm for the middle class? Where you been?
Well, I mean, Julie's got a point. As long as you follow these certain beliefs, it doesn't matter how much money you make. However, her beliefs, they're not hers. And by the way, I'm not entirely sure that this is what she said. It may be that I think it's her staff pushing this out to counter Elizabeth Warren. But the key part here, and the most dangerous element to this, is that the language that she is using is what you would use against Al-Qaeda. Toppling. You'd be toppling Al-Qaeda. But now you're using that language against law-abiding, tax-paying people who contribute to society. This is French Revolution stuff we're listening to. To get elected, she is seemingly embracing the violent lexicon of class warfare. This is everything we need right now in America. More hate and more envy. We always make fun of the right. The media makes fun of the right for pandering to paranoia about guns. We need more guns. But when you listen to this, that justifies any paranoia that when you hear the leading presidential candidate talking about toppling people simply because they're wealthy, they are law-abiding, they pay more taxes than anybody, it's based on envy and hate. This is scary, scary stuff. I'm not sure she said it, but her campaign is pushing this.
Right.
Okay, there are others who also heard her say, I'm sorry, we need to reshuffle the deck. The rules are skewed to the wealthy. We need to reshuffle the deck.
Remember, I gave some advice to Republican candidates before. I think we're falling into another trap. We are now arguing to defend people that actually support her.
Yeah.
The most wealthy people are actually her donors.
Yeah.
She's talking about toppling her best friends, the people in Hollywood, all the people she got $500,000 a speech from in order to fund her lifestyle.
She's lying.
Okay? So, and they all know it.
Yeah.
And that is what is bad. That phrase of toppling is poll-tested, campaign approved.
Yeah.
And she doesn't really mean it, and they know it.
So, KG,
right,
but
Julie?
You're right. And actually, can I just make one quick point to what Dana said? Sorry. A lot of the reasons that people in the Democratic Party have problems with Barack Obama is because this is the same kind of rhetoric he used 8 years ago, or whatever it was that I guess now 8 years ago, right? Yeah. And the problem is that income inequality has only grown. And
because he's pumped out cash and Wall Street has benefited.
And Wall Street has benefited, and a lot of people feel that he didn't do what he had to do. And so the challenge for Hillary Clinton is for the Democratic wing of the Democratic Party, fool me once, shame on me, but fool me twice, whatever it is, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. And the problem is that people in the Democratic Party don't believe that she's not doing exactly what Dana said, which is saying this, and then wink, wink, nudge, nudge to her friends.
But also, her wealthy friends know that she doesn't mean it, so they'll continue to keep funding the Clinton Foundation and her campaign.
They don't care. Like, they don't care if she spews hate speech every day. They're going to vote for her. They believe in her. They're all in because they actually trust her to do their bidding once she's got the throne.
But isn't this right? She has a soft spot. She has an Achilles, right? Wall Street. She can't be the populist if Wall Street are her major donors, right?
Also, the populists are actually on the Republican side this time around. That's the interesting piece of this election, and the unspoken, unwritten theme is that if you have a lot of the Republicans that are actually running as more on a populist message than Hillary Clinton.
But if you carve out this, I'm for the little guy, I want to make sure that income inequality gap gets smaller, bring the bottom up. Do you not block out any sort of headway that an Elizabeth Warren challenge would make?
She would argue, and her people have argued, that she was Elizabeth Warren before Elizabeth Warren was ever, a flicker in any of our eyes. She appointed.
She would argue, but she stand on
I
those
think she
legs.
can to some extent. But she appointed Gary Gensler, who's the former head of the CFTC, who last week is her CFO, who a lot of people see as a reformer and who stood up to Wall Street. And that was sort of a signal to the progressives that, hey, take me seriously, I really mean this. However, as I said, we've seen this game before. As a progressive myself, who actually does think income inequality is a huge problem in this country, I want to see a president actually follow through with it.
Again, Greg, she spent 12 years amassing a fortune, a lot of it coming from Wall Street, as Dana points out. We agree.
No, we get it.
But then
she's hypocritical.
Right.
Hello.
Yes.
Everyone knows.
I know. But what I'm always interested in is how surprised she is by things. Like, I guess she was surprised by the sluggish economy.
Right. And the entrepreneurialism is down.
And the small businesses are suffering. She was surprised by that. She's continually surprised by elements that we all know about. Sluggish economy, the difficulty of mastering email, the intricate devices that you can't have. This is too hard. And then she's talking about law for equal pay. When there is a law for equal pay, it's like she's Rip Van Winkle, and she just woke up and what are these devices? And there are laws that allow women to get paid equally, and she wants to run for president.
And what's with these handicap parking spots? Who puts them right in front of the restaurant?
I don't get it. By the way, can I add that David Brock's hair is beginning to look like B. Arthur's hair? It's
oh my
true.
gosh!
Do you think
it's a good look.
It's going for the B. Arthur look.
If I were David Brock, I would absolutely continue to use that hairstyle.
During the Maude period or the Golden Girls period?
Golden Girls.
I think
Can I make one other
Maude.
point?
I disagree.
Really?
Yeah.
Can I say one other thing about Elizabeth Warren?
If you must,
yeah, it's a ruse.
This is a ruse. She could never win election in America. This is nonsense.
It's made to paint
this
Hillary as
is
a
made
moderate.
up on the left to say, actually, Hillary Clinton would be a better choice. Maybe there are some people in the Democratic Party who think they might think she would be a better president. There is no one in the Democratic Party who actually thinks she could win.
She couldn't win
as president.
They
And
want
this
to pull
is
her.
nonsense.
They want Hillary to look like a moderate by putting out Elizabeth Warren.
According to that conspiracy theory, there are people in the Republican Party who actually don't believe Ted Cruz can win, but they're letting him run anyway.
well, whatever. E-Dub is a foil. No one believes
walk away.
she's going to run or could win.
Oh, okay, good.
So I know they want to go, but can I just ask this question? Rhetoric, maybe, if anyone has a response. New York Times outed Hillary yesterday. New York Times outed Hillary again today with this comment. And Think Progress outed Hillary with this London group $100 million donation. Are the left...
Well, those are reporters, though. I mean, you can't say that everybody... These reporters, like Maggie Haberman, who works at the New York Times, she's an accomplished reporter. And that was a good hire by the New York Times, and we should all be glad that she's there.
Yep, I agree.
My point is, are they getting disillusioned with the Hillary?
No, I don't think that. I think Maggie Haberman, as a reporter, is probably one of the as straight as you come. Calls balls and strikes.
Journalist,
she's just the umpire.
And she's been following Hillary Clinton for years, first to Politico, now the Times. You're right, she's a great hire for the Times.
Get a room, guys.
But but on the editorial page, that's different, and I think that's where you still will see complete and utter defense of Hillary Clinton is on the editorial
Right. Well, we kind of
page.
talked about that. They're doing this now, so they can say that they did some stuff and went after a little bit. But I mean,
That's true.
This wedding is going forward.
All right,
Put it
we
that
got to
way.
leave it right there. Next,
Always weddings.
to New York's finest